Welcome. Let's see what the simulation has for us today.
Pay attention. It's getting close. It's getting closer. It definitely just hit something. Thanks for watching as always. Stay weird. Let me know what you think.
What the hell was all that, like, dinosaur noise in that video, by the way? What the hell? I'm pretty sure that didn't hit anything. I think that was just the different segments of the rocket, different fuel cells and things breaking off, and it being ejected from the main fuselage, because they have to eject and they use like smaller rockets to propel the canisters away from the main body of the rocket. Do you think it was hitting something, or do you think it was my explanation? Let me know in the comments below.
If you came here to kill me, clap your hands. Well, that wasn't clapping your hands, that was more like just... Okay, I'm sorry!
Hi, big sis. Are you afraid of me?
Ridiculous, come on. We all know. Those were all skits. People have got to do better. I have a real hard time believing in things like ghosts. I feel like if you can live on in all eternity, why the hell would you spend that time in someone else's house just waiting for the next victim to terrorize with your bizarre antics of slamming doors and knocking on walls? Like, what the hell? You know, you could be traveling into the deepest, darkest depth of the universe and go and discovering things which humanity's never even come upon, and that's how you're going to spend eternity, is just rattling doors? Come on. Tell me something which can change my mind. I'm open to it. Comment below if you've got any kind of hardcore evidence to prove that these things are not staged.
So apparently too much tea is bad for your heart now. Check this out. Now you've got to bear in mind that this is through GB News. GB News is like the online version of the Daily Sport. A lot of the time it's just chanting on a load of crap. But I digress. Something that I did want to click on, because I do drink a lot of tea, and you have got to think of the old ticker a little bit. Apparently 4 cups a day is alright, which is about roughly what I have. But then I went on to read it in a bit more depth, bearing in mind this is GB News, and it says everybody likes a cup of Joe. Who the fuck in Great Britain calls tea Joe? I've never called it that in my life. I've never had anybody call it that to me in my fucking life. Apparently this is a study that was done somewhere in Asia, obviously a very, very fucking broad area. But not only did it call it Joe, it also said the caffeine content in tea is the equivalent of 10 cans of soda, which tells me all I need to know. They're taking details and statistics from the Far East, circulating it in journalism in the US, and then shipping it over here and feeding it to us. We don't call it Joe, and we don't call fizzy drinks soda, but it's on GB News, which brought me to the conclusion: I'll drink as much fucking tea as I want. Have a good day.
That made me laugh. It's true. Joe? When have we ever called tea a cup of joe here in the UK? If there's anyone there in the States, I know you know a cup of joe is a cup of coffee. I'm pretty sure that's why it comes from. But the bottom line is do your research. Find out where these studies are conducted and who's financing them. You'll find that a lot of studies which go a little bit off the path to try and prove that something which was once widely considered as healthy for you is no longer healthy tends to be financed by like some kind of pharmaceutical company, or it'll be someone who has something to gain from it. Follow the money, do your research, stay vigilant, trust your own judgment. Obviously, I can't comment on whether this is true or not as far as tea being good for you or bad for you. Do your own research. I'm not going to give you health advice. Some interesting things there. I think I saw something on the news today about organic computing, so maybe this guy's onto something, or maybe he just reads the news and puts together these predictions. This is the second time we've had one of these videos featured in my videos, so last time I asked whether you thought these were accurate predictions or if they were just nonsense made up rubbish, so you let me know what you think in the comments below. I don't know, maybe he isn't aware of this, but there are some things which have already developed since, but it's interesting that he made a point about the banks and the attack on them. I got a feeling something's going to happen to our economy on a global scale very soon. Something is coming with our economy, and there's little we can do about it right now other than wait and see how it develops and then take action when it does.
There's a theory that anytime you have sleep paralysis is because a demon is trying to attack you.
Chill.
So check this out.
Chill.
So they have a video. This is wild though. Like, I hope this isn't real, but it's scary.
What is it? Like they literally see it?
So this guy is in sleep paralysis and he's been having sleep paralysis so many times throughout the week. So he decides, okay, I'm gonna get one of those cameras that can see beyond. It's one of those
like
cameras that can thermal.
Yeah.
And it will be able to show if anything's there, trying to catch a ghost or whatever. He's like, why am I always having sleep paralysis? Because it always feels like somebody's pressing on my chest. Usually that's what people feel whenever they have it. Look at this video.
The guys go like this.
Right here.
Sleep paralysis, something I'm certain each and every one of you has experienced.
So you can see his chest moving,
As you can see,
and then there's like a figure. It's like a translucent figure, and it's right on top of his chest. And it walks away, and then that's when he wakes up. Oh, fuck. So it really could be things that you don't see.
Yeah.
I feel like a high production effort could create something which looks like that. And why was the creature being so careful? If it's going to try and choke him out in his sleep, why is it being so like careful not to wake him up as it climbs up on top? I mean, come on, something's off about that to me. I'm a skeptic. Convince me otherwise in the comments below. But as far as that kind of thing's concerned, if you can go, as I've said earlier on in this video, you can do anything you want. You could travel to anywhere in the universe. Why are you spending your time doing things like that? There's better things to do. Fly to the core of a dying star just before it blows up and watch it blow up from the inside. Like, do something gnarly. That is just a waste of time, just choking some poor guy who's confused in his sleep.
The aftermath of the First Pyramid War set the stage for the Second Pyramid War, fueled by unresolved disputes and the illegal occupation of strategic territories by the descendants of the Hamitic Canaan. This war was not just a rehash of previous conflicts, but a sophisticated engagement involving advanced weaponry and strategies, showcasing the gods' prowess and their manipulation of natural and technological resources. Ninurta, representing the Enlilites, emerged as a key figure, employing a blend of military might and strategic ingenuity to challenge the defenses of the Great Pyramid. The conflict saw the involvement of other deities, including Ishtar and Nergal, each playing crucial roles in the unfolding battles. The Anunnaki's main endeavor was to establish a civilization under the rule of ancient astronauts, engaging in gold mining, founding city-states across Sumer, Mesoamerica, and the Indus and Nile valleys, and altering human DNA. They introduced civilization, religion, and culture and were involved in pyramid wars over city-state control, which introduced human involvement and the concept of divine kingship. Their era ended with a nuclear disaster in Sumer, leading to their departure following the Anunnaki nuclear war and the rise of Cyrus the Great in Babylon. The ancient astronaut gods are known as the Elohim and Nephilim of the Hebrew Bible, and they developed the earth through a combination of technical prowess in matters such as building, astronomy, construction, and writing. The Anunnaki also devised ways to manage the human population through a sophisticated system of propaganda, which now forms the basis of modern religion. The origins of civilization and religion can thus be traced to the civilization established by ancient astronauts in ancient Sumer. Ancient astronaut theory argues that the Anunnaki initially left for Mars after the destruction of the Sinai Peninsula spaceport and the rise of Babylon under Marduk, using the Mesoamerican bases at Nazca and Teotihuacan. However, the Enlilite Anunnaki faction returned, replacing Marduk as the chief Anunnaki, god of Babylon under King Nabonidus.
I think it's a fun idea. I'm not so sure about that, whether it's ancient astronauts or... I mean, as far as astronauts concerned, it could be things which were already living here, which then traveled out into space, but I feel like it's more likely something which has coexisted or pre-existed us here on this planet, and we are the guests. I feel like that may be the case. I've mentioned this in the previous videos before, that I believe that we coexist with extra-dimensional entities, and it's just weird how more and more seems to be propagating to support that theory rather than contradict it. That looked like an interesting film. Do your own research. Let me know in the comments what you think. Do you think we all originate from some ancient astronaut race and we are the product of their experimentation and we were put here for harvesting gold to rebuild? I believe it was Billy Carlson who said something about we apparently were created to mine gold to help repair their atmosphere. Weird, but okay. But he supposedly read this in the Emerald tablets, the Sumerian tablets. Let me know what you think. It's a very strange but fun subject for sure.
I want you guys to meet billionaire Mike Lynch, the man once dubbed Britain's Bill Gates. Because yesterday, he and 5 others went missing after their luxury yacht sank off the coast of Sicily. But here's where things get strange, because Mike had a really tough last 13 years. He founded a software company in 1996 called Autonomy, and it was a huge success. So much so that American company HP came along in 2011 and bought Autonomy off of him for $11.7 billion, instantly making Mike one of the richest men in the UK. But just 5 weeks after the sale, the CEO of HP, the man who signed off on the deal, was sacked. New management came along, re-looked at the deal, and said they just paid $11.7 billion for a company that was actually only worth $2.9 billion. That's an $8.8 billion difference. They accused Mike of serious fraud and using a series of illegal tactics to make Autonomy appeal far more valuable than it actually was. Mike, of course, denied all wrongdoing, and it quickly became a federal case. He was even extradited from the UK by the US government to face trial in San Francisco. This long and bitter case dragged out for over a decade. But just 2 months ago in July, a huge development happened and Mike was found innocent and was acquitted of all charges. To celebrate, he invites a bunch of his lawyers and others who worked on the case and their families out to a yacht to sail the coast of Sicily. But not long into the trip, an incredibly rare storm known as waterspouts hit. It ultimately sinks the boat, and by the time a nearby ship got to them, 15 out of the 22 on board managed to get on a lifeboat and survived. 6 people, though, are still missing, and they include Mike and his 18-year-old daughter, Chris Morvillo, a high-profile lawyer who not only worked on Mike's fraud case, but also the criminal investigation into the 9/11 terror attacks, Jonathan Bloomer, the chairman of both Morgan Stanley Bank and Hiscox Insurance, Jordan's wife, and the boat's chef. And how's this for a wild twist? Just 2 days before the yacht sank, Mike's co-defendant in that fraud trial was hit by a car in the United Kingdom and was announced to have died the same day that Mike and 5 others went missing. Currently, divers are still searching for bodies, so of course, I'll keep you guys updated.
Super. suspicious. It seems very much like the Titan submarine all over again, right? It reminds me of that old saying, you play with fire, you're gonna get burnt. And when you're dealing with big money, that's a lot of fire, especially if you've wronged someone for that amount of money. Maybe it's just coincidence. Maybe. But what I've come to realize in my life, coincidence is very rare, and you can usually trace back everything to a source origin. Let me know what you think.
Serious warning to people who live in Britain, as apparently we are all screwed. If you live in the UK, I'm sure you're aware of the nice weather we've had the last couple of weeks. But now the sun and the heat is gone, and apparently we are in for some floods and some pretty major storms. And now the Met Office have given us this warning. They have basically warned, saying due to the heat and everything we've had in the last few weeks, it is imminent that we are going to get some major storms, and you need to check if your house is liable to flooding. If you live near a river or you live near the sea, then be prepared. And they're also saying you need to charge your mobile phone and charge any devices in case the worst happens. It's a bit of rain, mate, really. But I guess, yeah, if it does flood badly, then better to be prepared. But yeah, hit that follow button, I will keep you updated.
That's the second video that I've seen and that I've included in my own videos where it said that there is some kind of flood coming. I need to have a little look on the Met Office website and see what's going on. I have absolutely no idea whether this has actually been predicted by the weather agencies or if it's just conspiracy for some reason. It's a shame. The weather lasted whilst it lasted. We don't get that many summers in the UK, to be honest with you. We could do with some rain though. I've heard there's been a lot of drought with farmers' crops, so maybe this could be a good thing as long as it's not too much and causes, you know, flooding and people to be pushed out of their homes. You know, civilian displacement is never a good thing, especially with everything that's been going on in our country over the last month. Let's see what happens. What's your prediction? Let me know in the comments below. And what do you think is going to cause this great change in the weather? Could it be intentional? Could it be just natural? Who knows?
Is your ring made of copper? Yes, it is. Everything's copper. We got rings made out of copper. We got wristlets made out of copper. We've got cups made out of copper. And copper is very healing for inflammation. If anybody's suffering from inflammation or pain, all you gotta do is get yourself a little copper bracelet like this, and you can make it yourself, and you just pop it on. Inflammation goes like that. Also, too, since both wrists are wrapped, they're helping to enhance both sides of the brain at the exact same time. Remember, you have two sides of the cortex, which are constantly collecting information from the ether. And as we wrap the body with all different types of materials, copper, silver, gold, brass, jewels, we are enhancing the meridian lines of the body. That's why everybody used to wear jewels, necklaces, bracelets, wristlets, anklets, belts, the whole thing. They're enhancing all the meridian pathways of the body. So copper can actually work really well to help ground you and assist you and bring the meridian lines back on that are being disabled by pestilence and toxins.
It's very interesting, this whole thing with copper. Over the last few months, I've actually used a piece of copper wire and attached it to a grounding bracelet, which is usually used for when you're working on electronics. And I have that copper wire ground spiked so that I am staying earthed via a copper wire. And there's definitely something to it because I'm finding that there's a discharge from my laptop. I've got a Mac and the casing is some kind of metal. I'm assuming it's aluminium or maybe it's steel. I don't know. Probably aluminium. When I touch certain things whilst I'm in contact with the laptop, there's like a buzzing taking place against my fingers. When I'm wearing the copper grounding cable, however, that doesn't happen, which leads me to assume that it's discharging down the ground cable into the ground. I wear this to bed. I've noticed some pretty funky dreams whenever I have worn this to sleep, if I can manage to keep it on. There's something to this. Let me know if you do any grounding.
Bears don't fall asleep all winter. That was just hyperbole. Told to us when we were younger. A lie told universally.
What? So apparently not too many animals actually hibernate, and bears are amongst those that don't hibernate. Apparently they enter into a lighter state of sleep called torpor. They go into the state of torpor, which is just a different metabolic state. Why was I told that bears went to sleep all winter? I was always under the impression that a bear, it's cooling down, it's eating its food, it goes into its little cave, and then it takes a nap for the entirety of winter. Wakes up and just resumes what it was doing once it starts heating up. And now you're just telling me they just go into a different metabolic state where they don't need as much food, they're in lighter sleep? Basically it's as if they just took a gummy, they have no ambition, they don't want to do anything, so they're just chilling, conserving their energy? Why would they lie about, why were we told that bears sleep all winter? What was the point of that? don't understand these little lies. That's like how my parents used to tell me if you turn that light on in the car while it's driving that it's illegal. I believed that well into my 20s. Turns out it's not illegal. You can't get arrested for that. Mommy and Daddy aren't going to be taken to jail just because I turned on the lights. I'm sick of these lies, guys.
I think all these little lies are just peppered in there so it causes great misdirection. That way then you don't know whether something's really a lie, a fake lie, or the truth is then made to seem like a lie. It's all just to confuse you, I swear. What do you think? Do you think that there's a lot of these lies just peppered out there throughout all of our understanding of all reality just to create great misdirection and confuse the truth?
Meet the elusive ghost worm. That's right, the worm that swims around and poofs into smoke as soon as you touch it. Disappears. Kind of like our comments in the comment section on NASA's YouTube page. It's like, hey, was that a harness? YouTube goes, poof, it disappears. Or, wait a minute, were they using a green screen there? Looks like it glitched. Oh, poof, gone. But no, for real. What are these rapidly swimming little wormies that as soon as they get touched, they poof into smoke? Well, not smoke, because it's underwater, but something. Mud, dirt. What is it? I don't see anything else but a little wormy, and then, as soon as he touches it, it disintegrates into nothingness. What is going on? Can anyone please? What? Tell me what's going on here. Look at that long one. As soon as he touches, here's one of the frogs that live in that pond. He's devastated. Every time he tries to eat, it just disappears. Now let's talk about this from a skeptical angle. Kind of looked like maybe a feces strand from the back of a fish or something. But it was weird that he touched the front of that long one and the whole thing at the same time just went into the muddy waters. What do you think it is?
That's a curious one, isn't it? What do you think that could be? What would instantaneously combust upon contact? The one thing it reminds me of is when you come into contact with a moth, it can disintegrate. So maybe they have that same kind of fragileness and that it's making some kind of kinetic contact and the body structure is just, it's like a, I don't know, maybe it's to self-preserve it in some way so it has like as little pain in death as possible. I don't know. That's just a random theory. There's no actual scientific backing with that. That's just an idea, but let me know what you think. That just about rounds up today's video. Thanks so much for tuning in, and if you have enjoyed it, please drop a like on this video and subscribe for future content. I release a video every single day at 8 PM UK time, and if you want to continue this conversation after the video ends, please join our Discord community. The link you can find in the description of this video. Take care and stay safe. Stay curious. Until next time.